There is a healthcare crisis in America today. 14,000 people are losing their healthcare every day. Businesses and families are struggling to cope with skyrocketing costs, and we are all paying more. Right now, a debate is underway. Should we reform our healthcare system or keep the broken status quo? The leader of the forces blocking reform is Rick Scott, a once powerful healthcare executive who opposed healthcare reform and built the Columbia healthcare empire during the 1990s and was forced to resign in disgrace. Scott's company was charged with fraud, but even worse were the horror stories that came to light about abuse and negligence in the hospitals that he ran. Rick Scott ran his hospitals like AIG would. Pursue profits at all costs, never mind the consequences for regular people. Today, that same right-wing ideology is driving Rick Scott's efforts to kill healthcare reform once again. Now that he's back, Americans deserve to know, who is Rick Scott and what does he want to do to our healthcare system?
Quality, cost-effective healthcare that you deserve.
As a company, Columbia was a brand new animal, a for-profit mega chain. Its charming young CEO, Rick Scott, promised explosive growth to shareholders and low-cost quality care to patients. But to insiders, Rick Scott could be ruthless.
Scott sought to turn his hospitals into the McDonald's of the healthcare industry.
Out of the front lines of healthcare is Columbia HCA, putting profits ahead of patients.
One tactic Scott's company employed, for example, was to buy out all of the hospitals in one community and shut them all down but one.
Just 8 months after Columbia bought the hospitals, it would abruptly begin the process of closing Destin.
So what was going on? Columbia was trying to maximize profits.
The methods employed by Rick Scott's companies did cut costs, but they also threatened patients' care, choices, and safety. Doctors complained about cheap medical equipment. Nursing staffs were downsized. One nurse was forced to care for 7 sick infants, and one report called a Columbia-owned hospital, quote, just plain dirty. The problems with Columbia hospitals didn't end there. Scott's companies made billions, in part by systematically defrauding the government.
3 executives of Columbia HCA Healthcare Corp. Have been indicted by a federal grand jury in Florida on charges of defrauding the government for over a decade.
They were specifically training their executives to basically steal from the government.
Were you surprised by the charges?
I have nothing to say.
In Florida, did Columbia overcharge Medicare for home health care? And in several states, did Columbia upcode? That is, treat a patient for a mild disease, then bill Medicare for something more expensive.
Scott's company eventually settled with the U.S. government to the tune of $1.7 billion. It was the single largest healthcare fraud settlement in U.S. history.
It's not a fun day.
He resigned in disgrace. Today, Rick Scott is back and leading the efforts to stop us from reforming our healthcare system. Now that we know what his vision for our healthcare system looks like, the question is, will the public buy what Rick Scott is selling? Will we let him block efforts to provide access to all Americans and to give more choice and stability to those who already have healthcare? Or will we let Rick Scott impose his profits at all costs vision of healthcare on America once again? The choice is up to you.